On today's edition of Newsmakers, an internationally observed initiative is celebrated in Waterloo Region. Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Rosalind Horn. We're along the banks of the Grand River, which along with groundwater makes up our local tap water supply. And today we visit Wilfrid Laurier University as they host a World Water Day event. Newsmakers' Jody Bushlin has more.
Compared to most countries, the water supply in North America is clean and in abundance. Today, World Water Day, students at Wilfrid Laurier University are educating people on how good we have it and how to keep it that way.
I hope that the importance and the impact that water has on people's everyday lives, we use it every day, and sometimes we forget to think about where it comes from, how we treat it, and how industry uses it as well. We tend to forget about everything, so I wanted to bring that awareness here to campus.
The impact the bottled water industry has had on the environment is significant. If taken care of properly, our tap water is a superior product with immediate cost savings as well as substantial reductions on our carbon footprint.
It's been a highly successful marketing campaign by the water bottlers of the world to make people think that somehow bottled water is better than tap water. But there's so many stats to prove with, it's a highly unregulated industry. And it is extremely highly energy intensive as well. So not just from the extraction, but the pumping, the tanking of the water, the production of the bottles.
One of the worst things we do to our water is contaminate, flushing chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and other hazardous materials down the toilet and drain. One of the best things we can do for our water is to conserve it.
We have to have capacity to treat 170 million liters of water a day, and most of the water you use in your home is not for drinking. You're using it for other things like washing your clothes, washing down the driveway, watering your lawn, washing your car. And all those uses that don't require treated tap water are opportunities for you to save water.
Think about, well, what is it that I'm drinking? Where is it coming from? Did I do something today that negatively impacted this water? And know that what's in the water eventually gets in our body, so it's all connected.
World Water Day is an international observance recognized by the United Nations. In Waterloo, I'm Jody Bushlin.
Thanks, Jody. Wilfrid Laurier University is hosting a World Water Day, which has a number of different events and guest speakers happening. And with me is the person who helped to make this happen, Jana Tondu. You're a student here at Wilfrid Laurier University. So tell me about why you were behind a push to have this event here today at your school.
Well, I'm here at Laurier to do my master's, and I study water, and I feel that water is very important. It's one of the most major and precious resources that we have, so I wanted to promote it in a whole bunch of different levels. So the academic on water, the academic research that we do on water here at Laurier, and also the information component, stuff that the community does, the involvement of the community in World Water Day. So I wanted to really promote that here on campus.
So on the academic side, there are a number of things that are being highlighted here today in terms of research that's being done at Laurier by both students and faculty. So what are some of the highlights or biggest things that you would want people to learn about today?
That here at Here at Laurier, we study three major components of water. So there's a lot of biology students who study water. There's a lot of hydrology work that goes on here, and there's a lot of water policy research that goes on here. So I wanted to promote all of the research that goes on at Laurier. It's very interdisciplinary, and I really wanted to focus on that.
And why is this something that the average person or average student who might not necessarily be studying some of those things, what is going to interest them about some of these things today?
I hope that the importance and the impact that water has on people's everyday lives, we use it every day, and sometimes we forget to think about where it comes from, how we treat it, and how industry uses it as well. We tend to forget about everything, so I wanted to bring that awareness here to campus.
And Sarah English is also with us. She's the Sustainability Coordinator at Wilfrid Laurier University. A lot of effort went into today, so Jana needed some help. But tell me about what else is happening and the overall events for today.
Sure. So we've been planning this since about January, so it's been a few months going in, and we invited a lot of the community groups out here, and we wanted to show sort of Laurier students in the Laurier community about what is happening in their whole community. So we have the City of Waterloo here, we have the Wellington Water Watchers, the Grand River Conservation Authority, and these are just to name a few. And we wanted to bring them in here and have them show the students here kind of what they do in the community and how how the university and the community can interact better with each other and highlight water, and especially in this area here. We rely on groundwater, and not everyone knows that, and we need to promote that.
And there's also some somewhat interactive booths, including water tasting, where you're comparing tap water versus bottled water to see if people can taste the difference, but also a pharmaceutical drop-off. So tell me about what that is.
Yeah, so this year's World Water Day, the focus is on water quality, and making water quality as important of an issue as water quantity is. There's a lot of water conservation efforts all over the world. And this year we really want to focus on water quality, and that's why we have the pharmaceutical booth. A lot of people don't realize, both with household hazardous waste such as paints and with pharmaceuticals like expired drugs, they just throw them out, flush them down the toilet. You don't really think about those impacts, but those get into our waters. And so we have a few booths where people can come in and bring their expired medicines, for example, and we'll dispose of them properly and teach them about it in the process.
And you also have another interactive activity coming up later this afternoon where people can go out and paint fish. Tell me about that one.
Yeah, so Trout Unlimited organizes this activity called the Yellow Fish Road. And basically all it is people go out and they paint, there's a stencil, and they paint yellow fish along on the pavement by storm drains. And it's a reminder to the rest of the community that what goes down these storm drains eventually gets into our water systems. And so we're going to have some students go out and paint these fish along the storm drains on campus.
And there's also a speaker series happening this afternoon. Can you tell me a little bit about what that's going to look like?
Yeah, so there's a speaker series from 2 to 4 in another building on campus, and we're having some of the students here who do research on water issues are going to come and present a number of different presentations on the water issues in their research that they do.
So is there anything that you would want either students or if there are community members that are passing through here today, what would you want them to take home, whether they're here learning about the bottled water industry or just learning about how they can improve their water quality in their own homes?
One thing for them to take home? I would want them just to, from now on, whenever they drink water, think about, well, what is it that I'm drinking? Where is it coming from? Did I do something today that negatively impacted this water? And know that what's in the water eventually gets in our body, so it's all connected.
And I'll ask the same question to you. What would you want people to take home at the end of the day, whether they're students or community members that are passing through?
I guess I would just want people to understand the impacts of water and how we can promote water research here at our own campus and the different avenues of water research that are all important, but also how they all link together and are combined to this one important resource, which is water.
Okay, well, perfect. Thank you guys both so very much for your time. And after the break, we're going to hear from both the region of Waterloo as well as Wellington Water Watchers. So we'll be back with more newsmakers in just a minute. Welcome back to Newsmakers. We're at Wilfrid Laurier University, which is hosting a World Water event. And with me from one of the local organizations who is involved is Mike Nagy, who's with Wellington Water Watchers. So first of all, for those who are not familiar with the organization, tell me a little bit about the work you do.
Well, we really started up about 3 or 4 years ago, where our mandate is actually source water protection in the Grand River watershed, Waterloo, Wellington County, Guelph area. Basically, it's to educate people on how valuable source water is and how valuable and clean tap water is. So we're a volunteer board, and we've basically launched some very large programs in a very short period of time. We're very successful. And we're here today to talk about our Message in the Bottle program that we've launched within high schools in the entire area to put up to 40,000 stainless steel water containers in the hands of students and their families, as well as educate people on the number one thing that you can do to lower your carbon footprint is to drink tap water.
So tell me about how important that Message in a Bottle program is and how much you talk to people about going from bottled water back to tap water.
Well, we find it actually unfortunate that there's so many of us having to even spend any amount of energy on such a situation of common sense. It's been a highly successful marketing campaign by the water bottlers of the world to make people think that somehow bottled water is better than tap water. But there's so many stats to prove with, it's a highly unregulated industry. And it is extremely highly energy intensive as well. So not just from the extraction, but the pumping, the tanking of the water, the production of the bottles. Like, for example, in the United States, it's up to 18 million barrels of oil are being used a year just for the plastics for bottles. We're producing hundreds of billions of plastic bottles every year, which are going to developing nations now into incinerators or into landfills or whatever, because we just can't deal with them here. When we have tap water, which is 0.03 of a cent per liter out of your tap, and it's more regulated, it's in most cases cleaner, and it passes taste tests with consumers better than tap water almost the majority of the time. So why are we paying so much for a product which is basically so wasteful? It's sort of the same situation that we were dealing with the smoking discussions years ago, and when the industries were trying to say, oh, there's really not that much problem with the product. Well, there's a lot of problems with the product, but we're more pro tap water than we are anti-bottled water, if that makes sense. We're trying to teach people that we are so lucky in North America, especially in Ontario, which actually has probably the best tap water in the world right now, to have this flowing out of our taps when so many nations dream of having tap water.
And when you're looking at water issues or water quality issues, how big of an issue is the bottled water in the scheme of things?
It's from a waste perspective, it's a very large issue. From a percentage of water taking, it's not a huge issue as far as when you look at all water takings, but as an entire provincial sense, but it's a huge water taking issue in specific localities because they go to the sources of water that consumers like cities and municipalities are competing for. So they're actually competing for water that we don't have enough for our own municipal needs. So it's not like they're located up in the middle of nowhere and not competing with municipalities. For example, we are not in a water-rich area, this area. This actually becomes a water-starved area during the summers, and we're competing with privatization of water.
So what would you say are some of the other water-related issues that you would also want to educate people on as you're here today, or just with your organization in general?
Well, source water protection is very important. So it's basically what we put in the pipe comes out the other end of the pipe. So we're very much about, instead of dealing with the symptoms of our problems, dealing with the root cause. And so prevention is always cheaper than cleaning up the symptoms. So if we protect our watersheds and if we protect our intact forests, the moraines, the estuaries, we do not develop in our floodplains, those type of things, we're always going to have access to better clean water. And we all play a role in keeping our water clean as well.
So what would you say are some of our biggest water offenses that we make locally in our community?
We develop in areas that are water recharge areas. That's a very large one. So we don't allow the water to recharge those areas. We remove a lot of high areas. We develop too much in the actual floodplain, like into the water areas. We're not allowed now to develop in the floodplains. However, we have taken up over centuries a lot of the valuable water in the floodplains, and we do not allow rivers to flood anymore. And rivers like to flood. That's what they're born to do. And so when we prevent them from flooding time and time again, eventually we get these catastrophic floods. And when we get catastrophic floods, that's when we get a lot of property damage and people saying, oh, rivers are bad, they flood. But if we allow rivers to flood many times over, in small areas, they replenish our water table, they replenish farmland, they replenish all sorts of things for other creatures, not just humans. So we have to allow our rivers to do what they're supposed to do a lot more. Other things are toxification. Toxification is a big one. Factory chemicals, those type of things. And some of that is airborne, that's getting into our water systems. And then invasive species is a really large one. In the Great Lakes Basin, we've had, as you know, we have many invasive species now, and the Asian carp is one that's now coming to, unfortunately, the Canadian Great Lakes. If that is not shut down, we have lamprey eel, we have purple loosestrife, et cetera, zebra mussels. So there's lots. But we have to be guardians. Everybody has to be guardians of their own water. So.
Now, on your website, you have a list of 10 things that people can do. So what are some of those that you would want to get across?
Well, first of all, drink tap water is really the easy one. Get rain barrels is a very simple one too. Rain barrels can save a lot of water in your at home during the dry months. If you're changing your appliances, I mean, these may not be identical to the ones on the website, but I've been doing water for. When you're changing your appliances, get low water use appliances. You can get gray water systems installed in your home if you want as well. But simple things, obviously the simple ones, turning the tap off for brushing your teeth, taking short showers, putting water conserving shower heads on your shower. You can reduce your shower volumes by 80% easily. And obviously taking shorter ones, and then educating your family. But drinking tap water is a really large one. And there's obviously the dishwashing issue. Don't do small amounts of dishes at one time. When you're doing laundry, do full loads. And it's amazing how much of a difference you can make when you do small things within your home that actually don't cost anything.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. That's Mike Nagy, who's with Wellington Water Watchers, and we'll be back with more Newsmakers in just a minute. Now it's time to have your say. In today's web poll question, we're asking, do you drink bottled water? Visit rogerstv.com to place your vote.